The Art of War by Sun Tzu, condensed for those who don't have the patience to read. War is a matter of life and death, a road to either safety or ruin. It must be studied with utmost care. The way to wage war is by careful planning, calculation, and execution. The greatest victories are not those achieved through brute force, but through strategy and deception. All warfare is based on deception. When you are able, feign incapacity. When active, pretend inactivity. When close, seem far, and when far, seem near. These are the keys to confusing and defeating your enemy. The wise commander always plans ahead. The commander who understands war will succeed before the battle is even fought. He analyzes the circumstances, weighs the conditions, and formulates a strategy that will ensure victory. Those conditions include the influence of heaven, earth, and the general, along with the laws of the land and the spirit of the people. Victory is determined by 5 factors: the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, and method and discipline. The moral law causes the people to be in complete accord with their ruler, so that they follow him in life and death. Heaven signifies night and day, cold and heat, seasons and time. Earth comprises distances, danger, safety, open ground, and narrow passes. The commander must possess wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness. Finally, method and discipline refer to the marshaling of the army, the divisions of ranks, and the control of supplies. Victory is achieved by those who understand these factors and use them to their advantage. There are many paths to victory, but the most important is to avoid what is strong and strike at what is weak. The general who wins is the one who knows when to fight and when not to fight. He knows how to choose his battles wisely, engaging only when the conditions are favorable. He knows when to advance and when to retreat, understanding that withdrawal is not defeat but a way to preserve strength for a later victory. In war, knowing your enemy is as important as knowing yourself. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. But if you know yourself and not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither yourself nor the enemy, you will fail in every battle. True mastery lies in understanding the balance between your strengths and weaknesses, as well as the strengths and weaknesses of your opponent. The art of war is also the art of using limited resources effectively. A wise general wins through careful calculation, utilizing his forces efficiently and without waste. He does not rely on sheer numbers, for large armies can be cumbersome and difficult to manage. A skilled commander wins with minimal effort. He achieves his objectives without fighting if possible, knowing that the best way to win is to subdue the enemy without ever engaging in battle. To capture the enemy's army without fighting is the pinnacle of skill. Breaking down their will to resist, forcing them to surrender without bloodshed, is the ideal outcome of war. The supreme excellence is to win without the need for violence. To fight and conquer in all your battles is not supreme excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. The battlefield itself is a fluid and unpredictable space. The wise commander adapts to the terrain and circumstances, always ready to shift tactics depending on the situation. In war, the way is to avoid what is strong and strike at what is weak. Never allow your enemy to dictate the terms of battle. Instead, use surprise, mobility, and speed to stay one step ahead. Attack when the enemy is unprepared. Move when it is least expected. One who is skillful in keeping the enemy on the move maintains control over the battlefield. The key to victory is flexibility. The general must be able to adjust his plans in response to the ever-changing conditions of war. He must be like water, flowing and adapting to the contours of the land, never rigid or predictable. There are 5 dangerous faults that can affect a general's ability to wage war: recklessness, which leads to destruction; cowardice, which leads to capture, a hasty temper, which provokes rash decisions, a delicacy of honor, which is sensitive to shame, and over-solicitude for the troops, which exposes one to worry and distraction. A general who avoids these pitfalls will find himself more capable of managing both his army and the course of battle. The element of surprise plays a central role in warfare. To win battles, use surprise and deception to confuse the enemy. Strike where they least expect it at their weakest points. The enemy must always be kept in a state of uncertainty. When they expect you to attack from the left, strike from the right. When they believe you will advance, make it seem as though you retreat. A skilled general knows how to create chaos in the enemy's ranks while maintaining control over his own forces. In war, timing is everything. Speed is the essence of war. Take advantage of your enemy's unpreparedness. March swiftly and without hesitation. If you are slow or indecisive, the enemy will seize the advantage. A delayed action gives your opponent the opportunity to recover, regroup, or counterattack. Therefore, act with decisiveness and swiftness, capitalizing on the enemy's weaknesses before they have a chance to recover. However, speed must be balanced with patience. Sometimes the greatest victory comes from waiting for the right moment to strike. A general must know when to seize an opportunity and when to bide his time. He must also know how to control his army, for discipline is the bedrock of military success. Troops that lack discipline will falter in battle. A general who exercises control over his soldiers ensures that they remain united and focused on their objectives. When preparing for battle, the general must carefully choose his ground. There are many types of terrain, and each requires a different approach. There are 6 types of terrain that the general must understand: accessible ground, entangling ground, temporizing ground, narrow passes, precipitous heights, and positions at a great distance from the enemy. On accessible ground, take up a position easily. On entangling ground, forge alliances to defend yourself. On temporizing ground, delay if it benefits you. Narrow passes should be occupied before the enemy can secure them. Precipitous heights should be ascended before the enemy gains the advantage. Lastly, positions far from the enemy should be abandoned if they weaken your forces. A skilled general always has a plan, but he must also know how to adjust that plan in response to changing circumstances. War is unpredictable, and rigid plans often fail in the face of unforeseen events. Victory belongs to those who can adapt. When the enemy is close, keep your defenses strong. When the enemy is far away, strike quickly. If your forces are superior, surround the enemy. If you are weaker, evade and harass them, avoiding direct confrontation until the time is right. The general must also recognize the importance of logistics and supplies. An army without food, water, or resources will crumble no matter how strong it is. Warfare is not just about the battle, it is about sustaining the fight over the long term. The general must ensure that his troops are well provisioned, that his supply lines are secure, and that he can continue to fight even when resources are scarce. Sometimes war must be waged not just on the battlefield, but in the mind of the enemy. The best way to weaken an opponent is by attacking their morale, their unity, and their will to fight. Psychological warfare is as important as physical combat. A skilled general knows how to sow doubt, confusion, and fear in the hearts of his enemies. He uses spies, misinformation, and rumors to undermine their resolve. When the enemy is uncertain, they will make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, they become vulnerable. Ultimately, the art of war is the art of winning without fighting. The greatest victories are those achieved without a single sword being drawn. A wise general does not seek unnecessary battles, for every battle carries risk. The ultimate objective of war is peace. The goal is to defeat the enemy without destroying them, to subdue them without violence. The ideal is to bring about victory through strategy, not slaughter. In the end, success in war is not about brute strength but about intelligence, planning, and strategy. The best generals understand the nature of war, the enemy they face, and the terrain they fight on. They use deception, speed, and surprise to outmaneuver their opponents. They are disciplined, adaptable, and patient. And above all, they know that the greatest victory is one that requires no battle at all. By mastering the art of war, a general secures not only his army's victory, but the safety and prosperity of his people. Through wisdom and strategy, peace can be achieved. If you enjoyed this, hit the subscribe button to be a part of quick reads for people with no patience. And see the description below to find out how you can get the original classic. Who knows, we might have piqued your interest.